We're back with Tom and Jennifer. Welcome back, guys. Thank you for joining me again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to kick off this week with letting Jennifer and Tom introduce themselves. So Jennifer, let's start with you.
Sure. So my name is Jennifer Axelrod, and I live just outside of Toronto in Ontario, Canada. I'm a busy full-time working mom of two. My boys are all grown up, so I have lots of time now to devote to my career. I've been in the franchising space for over 13 years. I have my CFE, and I've had the pleasure of working with 3 established brands and very successful brands. My passion expertise is in franchise relations, brand management, vendor management, marketing, coaching, and supporting franchisees. So currently I'm a franchise performance coach. I like to call myself a growth coach with A Place at Home, where we are a senior focused home care franchise that ensures seniors receive personalized, high quality, compassionate care, creating a safe environment where they can stay at home, and they receive non-medical services when they need as they age, so that they can remain vital as long as they can. Today we have 36 open or launching locations, 54 total units, including 2 are corporate. And we have just hit another milestone. We're almost at 1,000 caregivers. So that's pretty exciting.
That is.
I'm thrilled to be part of this company. They've built such a strong culture. It's really to be admired. And with dedicated owners, compassionate professional caregivers, truly making a difference in the lives of seniors and their loved ones.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And as promised, Jennifer and I are becoming fast friends already. Tom and I know each other from a different lifetime ago, it feels like. So I'll let him give his intro on what he's up to now.
Yeah, so my name is Tom O'Keefe. I am a lawyer. I've been practicing law now, believe it or not, over 38 years. The last 31, something like that, in the franchise space. I've been internal and external counsel to many brands, from Popeyes, Ruth's Chris, Anytime Fitness, Smoothie King. And I've also been a franchise executive within those companies, not just their general counsel. As Catherine mentioned, I was at Smoothie King, where I was the president and chief operating officer. I wasn't even the general counsel. We did have an in-house legal department, but obviously would be involved with anything of a substantive legal nature. I have returned to a practice of law that centers on helping franchisors, particularly emerging franchisors, to develop their program, teach them, the ins and outs of franchising, how to sell correctly, FDD process, things of that nature. And then I'd like to think I can give them a lot of business advice, because not only have as I mentioned, between my executive and legal capacity with companies, I've also been a franchisee, and I've also been a small business owner. So I think that kind of gives me a little bit more bandwidth, if you will. And so I enjoy helping folks to grow and see their dreams, their entrepreneurial dreams come true.
Well, and share your expertise and knowledge. I always enjoy talking shop with Tom because his breadth of experience is really vast. Okay, so this week we are going to talk about what you guys are reading, and Jennifer, let's start with you.
Sure. So a few weeks ago, I read a book called Be Seen by Jennifer Gottlieb. I don't even know if it's going to show. There we go. That's the book. Okay. So Jennifer, she shares my name, but also she's an international speaker, sharing the stage with well-known celebrities and thought leaders. She also is a co-founder of a Super Connector Media, which is a media company to get people seen online and build brands. She's a New York bestseller. This book is New York bestseller. So it was pretty cool when I saw it. Something pulled me towards it. I listened to a podcast and she was talking about it. So Be Seen is an inspiring roadmap, basically for building a brand. And I thought this is perfect for franchising. The book, Jen takes us through an inspiring journey, her journey, how she became what she envisioned and dreamed of. And it offers valuable tools and advice how to find your voice, how to get noticed, how to be seen, right? So no matter where you are in business, we all have that fear. We all have that imposter syndrome. And so one of her tools, and I absolutely love this, is called the badass list. And so what she says is you put a list together of all your accomplishments, all your big moments in your life, professional and personal. And then you read it back like it's not you, it's someone else. And what it does is it basically says, wow, look at what this person has accomplished, right? And then you start to see yourself in a different light. You see how others see you. And yeah, that imposter syndrome just starts to go down and down and down. So I love that. I actually created mine. This is actually a big badass moment for me. I've never been on a podcast.
I'm so happy to have you on. Yes.
Yeah. So, Jen Gottlieb, thank you for inspiring me to be seen. Now let's relate it back to franchising. So for emerging franchisors and all franchisees, it's all about being the face of the brand, being the face of the business. And so not everybody has that comfort zone. In fact, most of the franchisees I've ever coached do not want to do Facebook Lives. They do not want to go live on Instagram. They do not want to talk to an audience. But we know in business that these are the important things to get out there and be known, because it's not just going to make the phone ring, right? Mm-hmm. So this is actually really smart too. So she comes up with this acronym, HOPE, and it basically stands for help one person every day. So whether you're talking to one person or you're talking to an audience of 1,000, you're only going to deliver value to one person in your mind. And it makes it easier, right?
Yeah, it helps you focus.
I love that. I love that. So definitely try that out if you haven't. Here's another one. Love this nugget. Become a networking ninja. So basically you go into a networking event and you go with an intention, a goal, right? So if I want to go to a networking event and I have 5 people I want to talk to, I already have it in my head who I'm going to talk to. And once I do that, guess what? I've reached my goal. I can go home. Because we could say we love networking, but after an hour, we're tired. We want to go home. We want to go for a drink, whatever. So that just gives you that easy, you achieve, you leave. So I love that.
Yeah.
Make relationships everywhere. We tell franchisees this all the time. You never know when an opportunity is there. And if it is, and that door is open and it fits with your values, then you take it, right? Mm-hmm. You do it. And I love this too. The follow-up after you meet these people is the value that you can deliver. So if you meet someone and you're talking, let's say, about this book, well, then deliver it to them. And then you've already got that extra touch point to build that relationship, right? And most importantly, and this is throughout the book, is like, be you, don't be someone else. Don't build an audience that doesn't represent your brand, because you're going to get the wrong following. You're going to get the wrong people, and it's not going to grow the way you want it to grow. So my top takeaways, I mean, it's a great read. Yes, it's for women, but it's a great gift for a wife, a daughter. But she talks like you're talking to your girlfriend, right? And it's just an easy, fun read. There's action steps. We always give franchisees action steps. There's sticky notes at the end of each chapter that you can stick on your wall and do an action step. So yeah, I loved it.
Wow. Based on that, I'm going to get it. That's awesome. I think my favorite thing that you mentioned was the badass list, because we do that to ourselves. We put our accomplishments down, and if anybody else had accomplished it, we'd be admiring them. So I love that. Yeah. Tom, what you got for us today?
So interesting, because I had 3 experiences recently where I did a little bit of what Jennifer just described. I have 3 new clients, new to the franchise world, trying to, get them through it. They're at different stage in their concept's life, but as it relates to franchising, brand new. And I got, for each of them, after explaining a lot of strategy and whatnot, the 4DX book that Catherine, you may remember, that we used at
Mhm.
Smoothie King, which is the 4 disciplines of execution. And just the kind of the sum and substance of it is that each year concentrate on 2, maybe 3 superior goals, communicate them. Everyone has to have a role in achieving the highest goal would be like the CEO's goal, and then there's sub goals that everybody, as you feed up, you're helping the person above you to help the person above them, so that the CEO can achieve the company goal. And we would communicate the results monthly and then quarterly, of course. And what I think it does really a good job about, because the entrepreneurial mind is, it's running in all these different directions. And so you're just trying to corral it a little bit and just say, let's identify, list them, prioritize them, and let's just take the top 3. We're not saying the other ones are bad. We're just saying not this year. We're going to defer those. And I think it helps give some clarity to that entrepreneur, because they're going 100 miles an hour. You just, like I said, we're just trying to streamline a little bit, take the energy and funnel it into 2 or 3 holes, not the 20 different holes. I really enjoyed the psychology of that book. I think it resonated with what we did and were doing at the time with Smoothie King. And so that's why I wanted to pass that along, because when I start out with folks, I tend to ask them like 4 key questions about the strategy. Tell me your brand strategy, explain it to me, and then tell me your marketing strategy, and tell me your development strategy, and tell me your exit strategy. And there's a tendency to question exit when it's like the first time we're meeting on putting together a program of growth. And I said, it makes sense, because if you need an exit strategy, so you can work backwards. Because then if you start these other buckets of development and what have you, well, you need to know how many by when to get, to the end. And I think 40X helps with the definition of those 4 distinct strategies. And it just kind of brings a different perspective to them. Everyone that I've walked them through that, I think is really kind of, it was like the aha moment in a way. And they've totally embraced it, which is cool, to see. And it was another example of like something that worked, and pass it on.
Yeah,
Sounds like EOS.
it does. Yeah, it's a little bit
Yeah,
like US.
traction, a little bit like traction. We use traction.
Not as much work as traction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think anything like traction or this 40X, like anything you can use to give yourself a framework to work, like it helps you make progress. Whereas if you're doing it on your own, to Tom's point, it's kind of like squirrel, and you need something to bring you back.
Yeah, exactly.
So mine's a quick snippet. I recently read the overview of Franchise Update's annual franchise development report. I love data, and I was working on a project around developing a franchise development budget. And so I utilized this resource, which is just an incredible resource to kind of level set on where you are compared to the industry in franchise development. And so that's what I read this week, and wanted to give a shout out to everybody who participates in it, because it is invaluable information. The nugget that I took away, in addition to learning all the benchmarks that I need to know, was that the leads to sales percentage was down significantly. So it was at 1.8% for 23, whereas in 2022 it was 3.5%, in 21 it was 3%. So a big drop from how many leads you get to how many sales come through. And, it really resonated with me, because it's something that we saw on the consumer side, where we were having a harder time. Our marketing had to work harder for us in order to drive people into our locations. And we're seeing the same thing in FranDev. So have you guys read that one yet? The overview.
No, you could send it to me.
No, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the free money that was flowing
Yes.
immediate post-pandemic is now dried up.
Yep.
And so I think that that's probably a factor in that number.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It'll be interesting to see what this year brings. Okay, let's jump into today's question. So today, we are hearing from a franchisor who just started franchising 2 years ago. He or she says, as we open locations, we are on site and have an intense training program. But now, 2 years later, some of the locations we opened up a year or more ago are not following the programs that we're launching. So how do we fix this? Tom, you want to give us your thoughts first?
Yeah, and this is a tough one because um, anytime that you sign a franchisee to a franchise agreement, obviously you're going to train them. A lot of times there's too much of a gap between when the initial training happens and then when they open, right? And so that's probably why this group has an intense, on-site opening training program as well. The other part that gets, a little dicey is then a year or two, which sounds like it's happening here. The original team, they're all gone. You got all these new players in, and none of them have gone through the training. So I don't know what's in their agreement, but a lot of franchise agreements, you can require at least the key operating person, other than the franchisee, has to come and take your training program. They have to come back, just like any new franchisee would have to come back. If that's not there, there's typically a clause that says if in the franchisor's opinion, if additional training is needed, it can be required. So I know you're getting into the legal world, but sometimes you have to, because you're having now a system that's changing and you're not even realizing that it's happening, unless a franchisee tells you, or the consumers start telling you. The other thing I think that you could take advantage of is what I'll call decentralized training, where you get as many training modules on your intranet, and you can have it where a franchisee has to identify, these are their top key employees. They have to go through that. They can do it at their location online, but you can certify it, and then they have to score a certain level. So I would definitely push that, because that you could do, I would think, if you have some intranet presence already, in a relatively short time, even if you have to just piecemeal it. But it also helps you to continue to keep your fingerprints on what's being taught at the unit level.
Yeah. I would just take a step back and I would kind of say we have to assess the root cause, why the non-compliance is actually happening. And you can do that through, conducting assessments. You can talk to franchisees. You want to go back to your training material and make sure that it's easy to digest, that it makes sense. It makes sense for where we are in business right now. Is there revamping needs to happen? There's so much that can happen, but I think that refresher courses is really important for franchisors to keep doing, because that initial training changes all the time, and especially with technology. So it's very important to keep certifying people. And then again, that FAC influence is really good when you're going to try and get people back in compliance. You don't want a hard hat. You really want to have that as a last resort, right? Consequences.
Yeah.
Another benefit is, highlight the ones that are compliant, show them off at convention, give them rewards, have them talk about how it's affected their business to really follow the new way, right? Compliance is such a, it's such an animal in franchising, because he's right. People will go straight to the franchise agreement and say, wow, this changed now. I don't know if you're right to change this or whatever, but it's still the franchisor who makes these decisions, and it's for the benefit of the brand. It's not to just make new fees or new programs or throw in something they may not even agree with, right? It goes back to that, again, they know their business the best in their community, right? And if we implemented something that doesn't affect their community, they're going to say that, no, I'm not doing that. Right. So
yeah, the other thing we used to have in several concepts I worked with, we would have regional town halls, and so we have an agenda, and then we have kind of open the floor up, and you'd be amazed how the peer pressure that's brought among franchisees in the same region on someone who they think is out of whack with compliance, because it's brand damaging potentially to not only to everyone in the brand, but the franchisee closest to the non-compliant franchisee, and they'll be quick to to bring that peer pressure, and they should, frankly.
Right, because
if
if it's brand
if
damaging, it's brand damaging
right,
their location. So then when you think about, so you have your intense manager training before you open. And so what I'm hearing is that there should be some kind of recertification process, maybe once a year, and or if you have new management in place, making sure that there's at least one person that's certified in your training at the location.
yes.
Yeah,
What about what
I
have you
think
guys seen any best practices around that continuing education? So, Tom mentioned the intranet, making those trainings accessible. Or have there been any tips or tricks or silver bullets that you've seen to get adoption of those training modules or LMS systems?
I don't know if there's a silver bullet, but I know one thing is when we did at Smoothie King is we changed the mindset that when we had our field folks go in and do a visit, it wasn't like show up and take a report card and just minus, 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 minus. Go in there and look for plus, 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 so that you're there as a coach, you're not there as a cop. And I think coming in just with that openness, that helps because usually when corporate shows up, there's a wall that goes up and they're like, oh, why are they here? They're just here to beat us up and write us up. And so if we could change the psychology of the support function, I think that goes a long way to them being more receptive than to the subsequent training and the requests or the demands that more training happen.
I think it goes right back to culture, right?
Yeah.
The culture of the brand. And if it's a collaborative culture, that doesn't happen. I mean, that's not the coach I'm going to be. That's not the coach I am. I go in there building the relationship. Yes, there is that compliance piece to a visit, but that is like so small compared to the rest of it. It's really about helping them and coaching their teams and taking them out and refreshing the marketing is also what we do. One other thing, with peer learning, we see this all the time. And one thing that we implemented at a place at home is roundtables. And we took different levels of where they are in the business and we made them quarterly. And so they kind of bring issues to the roundtables. There's no agenda for us. It's just to be a platform where they can talk and help each other. We also have a GChat that bings all the time, all hours of the day. They love it. They do. And you know what? We're just over 50 units. Maybe when we're at 100, that's not going to work so well.
Right.
But it is that culture that was built and it's the culture they love. So we're not going to change that anytime soon.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, these are great insights. I know that anyone listening is really having some key takeaways. Increasing peer support and peer interaction can pressure franchisees to kind of get in line, and then making sure that you have good certification and accessible training for folks. Sounds like some big wins. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your insights today. If you, the listener, are interested in talking to Jennifer or Tom more, I'll be adding their contact information in the show notes. And I'm sure that they'd love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for joining me today.
All right. And I'll
both.
be at the IFA if anybody wants to chat in a few weeks.
Get a little IFA plug in. I love it. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye.